Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I'm here for another Monday this and that video where I talk about all kinds of different things, answering questions that may have come in the last week, giving you updates of projects going on around here or whatever I feel like talking about. So let's get to the topics of today, starting off with my new favorite socks. Well, they're not really that new, but a lot of you will know if you've been following me for any length of time that I have loved the Darn Tough socks. Now, I do still love Darn Tough socks, and I do still recommend them. They are made entirely in the US. I love that about them. However, shortly after I really got into the Darn Tough socks, I decided to buy a Grip 6 wallet, which I love. It looks like this. I got the leather pouch with it so that I could make extra pockets. I've got some cash stored in there. But the nice thing about this is it's got RFID protection, and you just press this little thing on the side and your cards will come up out of there, making them easy to get out. And then, but they lock into place when that button is not pressed, and so they don't fall out. It has been a great wallet. Well, because I like this wallet so much and was promoting it a while back, Grip 6 sent me a few pairs of socks, a couple for Patrick, a couple for me. Unfortunately, they were a little bit big for me, but I liked them okay, and I kept wearing them, but I didn't love them as much as the Darn Tough until more recently. I decided I wanted to get some more socks, and I ordered the smallest size they had. I'll show you what they look like. I don't think I've worn this pair yet. So I do, again, have very little feet. So, 3.5 to 4 is my average shoe size. And anyway, these fit my feet better than any socks I've ever had. And they don't stretch out as bad. Like the Darn Tough ones, the one thing I've had an issue with is after wearing them for a couple of years, they really start to stretch out. They don't seem to come back. And then they get really baggy on my feet. And that's been my main issue with those. They still last an incredibly long time and take forever to get any holes in them whatsoever. But I have yet to wear any holes in my Grip 6 socks, and I have a pair that I've been wearing for almost as long as my Darn Toughs, so maybe 3 years, but they're pretty big on my feet. But anyway, the other thing I like about the Grip 6, and yes, they are made entirely in the US, just like the wallet, but their price is a little bit better. Now, they don't have as many really cool designs and colors as the Darn Tough, but these for most of the socks, this is mostly their color options that they have. So they got the blue, they have this, and then they have the black. They also now have the brown colored ones that kind of that look like a Carhartt brown sort of thing. And I did get Patrick a couple pairs of those, but you can get a pretty good deal by buying like a 6-pair pack or an 8-pair pack. I can't remember what it is. And then they even sometimes offer seconds. That's what a lot of these black ones are. I got a whole pack of black ones because black is my favorite when it comes to socks because, they hide the stains and stuff better. But they're considered seconds, and I've had no issues with them and got an even better deal going that route. So the price is a little bit better. Now, I don't have an affiliate with them or anything like that. I'm just sharing them because I just want people to know the different options. So again, both Darn Tough socks and the Grip 6 are all made in the US, and they are great socks. They last for years, quite literally. I'll put their store link in the description box down below if you want to check them out. And then I talk about vinegar probably far too much, but it's something I do so often, and I get tons of questions. And yes, that recipe's coming out. I just shot it. I got it. I actually have it ready to publish, but it'll be a few weeks before it publishes. But I did do the recipe video on the butterscotch apple oatmeal bars. And when I was making that second batch so I could shoot that video, I had scraps left over from the apples that a lot of times I just throw them out to the chickens. But this time I thought, well, I guess I do have some space in my vinegar cabinet. I'll go ahead and get some apple scrap vinegar going. So that's one of the many things you can do with your apple scraps. That's all of them, the cores, even the seeds, they're not going to hurt you. and the peels, or, you know, whatever. But also I want to remind people that people always think apple cider vinegar, apple cider vinegar. You can make vinegar out of anything. It doesn't have to be apples, and you can still get the great benefits of a raw vinegar. And sometimes other benefits that maybe the apple wouldn't have, because maybe you're using herbs with that as well. Herbs that have some medicinal properties that are also tasty if it's something you're going to ingest. And you can use citrus peels. Quite often for my chickens, I make a vinegar that is, when I've got the garlic greens coming in and the oregano's coming in, I'll cut it back, a bunch of the fresh stuff as it's coming up, shove it in a jar, add some sugar, because sugar of some kind, including honey, is necessary to get a ferment. You can't use monk fruit sweetener because it's not a sugar. But you have to have a sugar, especially when you're using herbs that have no sugar in them, and then get a good ferment, get a good vinegar out of that. So remember, you got to have cloth, not a cap that's going to prevent oxygen flow. So I like the covers, like I mentioned last week, and I do have a video on how to make them. They're super, super easy, and yes, you can do it by hand. And I can just stir it and then slip it over like that. But you can also use a coffee filter with a rubber band, a cotton dishcloth with a rubber band, as long as it's natural fabrics only. So, but yeah, I have to have that cloth cover. I'm still getting people coming in and saying, why does it just smell like alcohol? It's been 6 weeks. And then you find out they have some kind of plastic cover or something that's preventing oxygen flow. That's why. You got to have at least 2 weeks of oxygen exposure for it to turn to vinegar. Otherwise, you're just going to have alcohol. So anyway, got to say that one quite a bit, because a lot of people forget that step. Just like when they're making wine, they forget to add the water to the airlock to prevent oxygen from getting in so it doesn't turn to vinegar. And then another thing is that I'm going to do a separate video on this, so I'm not going to talk about my entire Azure Standard haul today, but I'll bring up a few things. So I did decide to buy the, because I hadn't thought to look at it before until someone mentioned it, that they use. I'm like, oh, why didn't I think to look in there? So Azure Standard does have their own organic palm fruit shortening, and palm fruit shortening is a much better option, especially when it's sustainably harvested, than using the Crisco or the off-brand shortenings from the store, because they're made out of very unhealthy ingredients. And this has not only got the perfect texture for pie crusts and biscuits, it just makes really great flaky pastries and more. I typically do still like to mix butter with it as well, so I might do a half and half blend, like for pie crusts and whatnot, because you get that nice buttery flavor, but then you also get the more flakiness that the shortening adds. Because I've used butter only for making pie crust, and while I love the flavor, it didn't get as flaky as when I use shortening. So even though I just opened this up and then I did a feel test and a taste test, I can tell it's just as good, if not better, than the organic palm shortening I have bought in the past from other companies. And then the other one I'll mention today is I decided to try their white chocolate baking chips and their milk chocolate baking chips, because organic milk chocolate chips are really hard to find and really good, as are the white chocolate chips. These actually taste the way white chocolate should taste. And the stuff you buy from, a lot of the white chocolate you buy isn't chocolate at all. Because people say, well, white chocolate isn't chocolate. Well, it's because you don't understand. If you're looking at what's in the store, a lot of times, no, it's not. Not when you look at what it's made out of. But true white chocolate is actually made from cacao butter. I know this because I've made white chocolate before and have considered making my own white chocolate chips and making my own milk or dark chocolate chips, or whatever kind I want. I do have my own recipes out there. I'll link to them. I'll link to the full playlist in the description box down below. Anyway, I still just wanted to try these, and quite good. So the difference between white chocolate and any of the other chocolates that are brown is the white chocolate has the cacao butter with usually some kind of milk powder added to it. And it can be vegan too. You can actually use like powdered coconut milk or something like that in place of powdered dairy milk. And basically what the milk powder is doing is replacing the cacao powder. in the recipe. So you get a white chocolate, whereas with any kind of brown chocolate, you're using the cacao butter along with the cacao powder. But they still both are made from chocolate. Then another thing I wanted to bring up that I can't really talk about on YouTube, but I can at least give you an idea, because I get asked about this a lot, because I've had to they've either been removed or I've had to remove them myself, videos from the YouTube platform that can now be found only on my Rumble account. So if you're not subscribed to my Rumble channel, you will find the link in the description box down below. I actually have a playlist there of videos that are not allowed any longer on YouTube. And then I have a separate playlist that's just on colloids, how to use them, how to make them, what they're good for. And that's as far as I'm going to go on that. But it does have to do with using precious metals, so I'm sure you can figure it out from there. But yes, if you want to find those videos, you will need to go to my Rumble channel, click on the playlist tabs, and then you can scroll down and find those particular playlists I mentioned. And then another thing I wanted to share, even though I think some people still misunderstood my point on talking about the jar padding. And so I saw a lot of people throwing out ideas, and it's not like I was really looking for ideas. I was trying to explain that in a massive earthquake like is predicted here, there would be very little amount of padding that would prevent total devastation to a bunch of glass, no matter how well it's padded, because you got these shelves, the shelves could fall down, you could have the whole house could cave in. You're going to have almost complete devastation when it comes to that. So the point was storing food in places or in things that would be less likely to shatter or cause issues. So that's the diversification. However, somebody threw out a really great idea that at least in a more moderate earthquake could be very, very helpful, that I would find I liked best, because you're still making the most out of your space. That was one of my issues with a lot of the padding. In the type of padding you would need to protect the jars, it would have to be pretty thick. It would take up a ton of space and mean that you could put less, you wouldn't be able to put near as many jars on your shelves. And anyway, this person recommended using your foods, your herbs, your dried foods, your herbs, your powdered milks, whatever, that are sealed in Mylar bags, especially the kinds that you would find like the Mother Earth products where they have the Ziploc and the seal, and like the Judy's milk that I bought before that has the Ziploc and it's heat sealed. They might still explode. Patrick doesn't think they would, but they could possibly explode if they're smashed together. But at least it's a way you can pad your jars at the same time as using that space for food. So I liked that idea. I'm not sure that I'll utilize it. I'll consider it, but because I just don't think I have that many bags that are in Mylar like that. But in a lot of them that aren't even here anyway, I store them elsewhere. So that might be something some of you might want to consider if you're trying to both make the most out of your space and be able to pad your jars. So putting, have a jar, a bag, a jar, a bag. Great idea. Best idea I've seen yet. And then I needed to clear up some confusion. I think some people don't understand a joke or hyperbole. Sometimes people just don't get it, even if I'm laughing when I say it. So last week's video I was talking about, so when cereal gets up to $10 a box and you can't afford it anymore for a little teeny tiny box, I was exaggerating to make a point, but it was also a joke. I've never spent $10 for a little tiny box of cereal, but it doesn't mean that it won't come to that. So somebody was like, where are you buying cereal that you're paying $10 for a box? And it's like, well, I'm not, but I have paid $10 for a big bag of cereal. And it was organic, and just like the Nature's Path, I think it's Nature's Path, that they make a great, they put some of their cereals like whole grain or grain free or whatever, and they're all organic in good sized bags, and that have a lot more in them, probably 3 times as much as you're going to find in those little narrow boxes. So yes, to get a good organic cereal, you're going to pay more than you're going to pay for the cheap stuff that has a lot of added nonsense to it that you don't need, colorings and whatnot that are really bad for your health. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was this past week, I had the frugal or budget-friendly breakfast ideas. And I'm just throwing out what I commonly do. Personally, I don't eat breakfast that much. But one thing I thought about mentioning in that video, which I didn't because I was talking about what we do, which is me usually making breakfast for Patrick, but leftovers. That was actually the old-fashioned way to do it. Leftover soup, leftover whatever. That's what people usually did. Leftover soup was a real common breakfast item. Now, I'm the kind of person that a lot of times I like leftovers better than what we consider today a real breakfast. But that's if I'm eating breakfast myself. But anyway, I also wanted to bring this up because just like I knew you guys would follow through on, if you haven't seen that video, or if you saw the video and didn't read the comments and are looking for more very frugal ideas, go to that video, which I'll link to down below, and then just start reading through the comments and you'll find tons of great ideas because everybody's going to have their own preference and things that they like. And you can learn a lot just by reading through the comments. This is why I like our community so well, is there's so many people that have so many great ideas that they can share. And since we all have different tastes and, different preferences, we can shoot out even more ideas that me alone, especially as, one who rarely eats breakfast, may not have as many good ideas to share with you. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed my this and that for the week. And don't forget to click on either more or show more somewhere down here below the video screen in order to open the description box and find the links that I put therein. And if I ever forget anything, because it happens frequently, just politely remind me in a comment and I'll go back and make sure it gets in there. And any other thoughts, ideas you'd like to share, put those in comments down below. And thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.